a very special guest. You probably know his face. He's been on the channel more than once, more than twice. How many times have you been on now, Mark?
Oh man, I don't know. I would say like at least four, I think.
It's Mark Poulton, everybody. And he's here today to talk about. Oh, can you hear an echo?
I don't hear an echo.
Oh, sorry. I know why I'm hearing an echo. It's because I had my YouTube open.
No.
Technical difficulties over here. But we're here to talk about Mark Poulton's brand new book, uh, Hurley's Heroes. Hurley's Heroes. There's a lot of information running through my brain. No, I'm lying. I'm just excited to see Mark. So I'm fumbling over my words. But also on top of that, we're talking about the comic book hustle. And I thought, who better to talk about comic book hustling with than Mark Poulton himself? Because we were just speaking before. I was trying to work out how many comic books Mark has put out at this point, and it is an astonishing amount for an indie comic book publisher who's been doing this crowdfunding thing since 2017. How many books have you published so far? I'm going to let you do the honors here, Mark, and tell
So,
everybody.
so there's been 50. I'm currently fulfilling my 15th campaign. This is my 17th campaign total. I I I don't know how many books, maybe 30 books over those 17 campaigns.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's been a great time. The last 6 years have been amazing. I would have never imagined when John and I launched the first Graveyard Shift book that we would be where we are now, where we're, I don't know, pretty much able to do what we want. And I'm able to, fund all these ideas I have. So I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, that is an astonishing amount of books. An unbelievable amount. I put out one and I thought, damn, I don't know if I have it in me to put out another one after that. Of course, we will because we can't help ourselves. We love to suffer. But Mark, you've put out 15 at this point. You must be a well oiled machine, a seasoned comic book publisher at this point. So,
uh, yeah, I mean, it's just a constant fulfillment here at my house. The basement where I'm at right now used to be like my prize. I would love to show this place off to people. All my collectibles, my action figures, graded comics. And now I don't want anyone to see this because it looks like a war zone. There's boxes of books and Gemini mailers and packaging supplies. It's a war zone. But
yeah.
and I keep saying, oh, once this next campaign's done, I'll clean up and I'll enjoy my man cave. No, because then the next shipment of books arrive, and it's just a never-ending cycle. But I love it. I couldn't I couldn't imagine I don't know anything better to keep me busy.
You must have a huge basement to be
If
fitting
it's
all the supplies in there that you need. And have you thought about just getting a warehouse and
oh,
taking back your man cave?
I've thought about it. I thought about uh, just getting like a rental space, and
Hmm.
but I don't know. I also like to be conservative with my money, so as
Hmm.
long as I can fit everything here, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, well, you're a smart man. And you were just saying how you probably aren't going to quit your day job anytime soon, even though you've got 15 campaigns under your belt. Seems like things are going really well with the whole comic book crowdfunding gig. But you're keeping that day job. And tell me, why haven't you decided to throw in the towel on that yet and just go all in with the comics? I know we spoke a little bit about it before we hit the go live button,
Yeah,
but I think it's important to bring it up because I mean that is the dream, right? For us to be able to
yeah,
quit our day job and do this comic book making stuff full time. But at, in the
yeah,
same
absolutely.
breath, it can be a little
Yeah,
well.
I do love the steady paycheck, and I love like knowing, where my next check is coming from. And with crowdfunding comics, it's always a hustle, and there's part of me that thinks this is all going to end at some point. And we starting to see like some of the challenges arise with like campaigns being shadow banned on Indiegogo, and people are coming up with the solutions or the workarounds for that. And we don't even have the answers on why these campaigns are being shadow banned. You know, part of me realizes I violated the terms of service on my last campaign by promoting it in previous campaigns updates, which apparently isn't allowed, which seems ridiculous because why wouldn't you want to make as much money as you could for this for Indiegogo, right?
For sure, yeah.
But apparently that's against the rules. So I understand that, and I accept the shadow banding for loose threads. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to play by the rules with Hurley's Heroes. So far, so good. But who knows? Who knows if there's people believe there's other reasons why campaigns are being shadow banned. So
It's really hard to say.
yeah,
Maybe they hired a new team of rules and regulators
yeah,
who are, trying to keep their job and stay busy, just
yeah,
going through all the different campaigns with a fine tooth comb and making sure everybody's following the rules and regulations. I mean, some people think that Indiegogo has it in for us, but it's really hard to say and tell. It's all
yeah.
just really speculation at the moment. That's why
Yeah,
everybody is really concerned because there's just no answers to it.
yeah. All I know is loose threads was shadow banned on its very last day, and that's the day I sent out the link to the campaign on all of my previous campaigns. And
Wow.
yeah, so it makes sense that they realized
Yeah.
I did that, and I think it's actually the only time I ever did that. I was just trying to generate as much interest in the campaign because I really believed in that project, and
Mm.
it turned out that that's violating the terms of service. So I don't know. There could be other, like you said, people seem to think Indiegogo has it in for us, but we'll see. I'm playing by the rules this time.
For sure. At least you know now what
Yeah.
caused the shadow ban for you in
Mhm.
particular. Some people have no idea why they're being shadow banned. I certainly hope that we don't on our next campaign, but nonetheless, it is a risk. I'm not sure how Kickstarter is doing these days or if there's other alternative crowdfunding platforms. I guess the big challenge with people starting up their own thing on a brand new website that nobody knows about is there is a whole other marketing game to that, gaining people's trust, getting them to feel safe that, hey, if we use this website to back your book, who do we hold accountable if something
Yeah.
goes wrong? Is it just
Hmm.
you? Is it somebody else? If you're the only person that we can contact and you've decided to somehow con us into
Right.
giving you our money, then we're kind of well,
Yeah.
we're
And for people that are building their own platforms, people are going to these new platforms specifically for their book. Like we're
mm,
not getting the I don't know, the window shoppers who just go to Indiegogo, and I know I do it. I just go through all the
me
campaigns
too.
because I like to find something that I've never even heard of before. And
Yeah,
we're not getting that if I just had a haunted pizza crowdfunder for my latest project, people would only be coming to that because they wanted the book I was crowdfunding. It wouldn't be someone looking for something new.
yeah, for sure. And that's one of the coolest things about Indiegogo is that you can just hit that comics category button and
Yeah,
take a look at all the awesome campaigns that are there, which unless we get some kind of registry going for all these unique websites that each have their own crowdfunding setup with their own books, then it's going to be difficult to find everybody to have
yeah,
that easy access. So who knows? Maybe that'll happen through Michael Bancroft's website, CG Now. That could
yeah,
be possibly a solution to that. Who knows? Someone will create it, hopefully, find an alternative that we can all agree on and remain happy with. But Indiegogo is here now, and Kickstarter, you know, there's been problems with those in the past, but I think some people are actually seeing a decent amount of success on Kickstarter, which is really cool. Crowdfunding isn't going away yet, so I think at least in the forthcoming year, we will be able to put out our projects and see some success from that. You've got a new comic book coming up, Hurley's Heroes. Let's take a quick look at it here now and talk about the topic of today, keep that in focus, which is, the whole comic book hustle, the grit, the grind that it takes to put out comic books consistently. This is your next one, Mark. How did it come about, and why have you decided to do this comic book in particular right now?
So it's inspired by a true story.
Hmm.
A friend of mine suffered 2 strokes, had dual organ transplants, and afterwards dedicated his life to helping children with disabilities because he felt like he was given the second chance at life, and he needed to do the most with it. And much like comic book creators have comic conventions, the special needs community has conventions as well, where people show off their services. And he thought it would be great if he had something for the kids that come to these conventions with their parents. And we thought a comic book would be a great idea. And we started brainstorming ideas. And when we came up with the idea of someone who gains superpowers from a superhero organ donor, I thought we really had something with that. And
Hmm.
I crafted a story from that, and well, we put an artist on board, Fredson Oliveira, and we were both really pleased with the outcome. We really loved the book, and we think it, you know, definitely has legs for future stories.
Yeah, that is an amazing idea. It's a relatable yet unique take on a superhero, which I love. I mean, getting a superhero organ transplanted into you and gaining their superpowers because of it. That's just such a cool concept. So, yeah, great thinking there. I mean, you are a writer, so it's no wonder you've been able to come up with something that cool. So,
Well,
what? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't know. I just feel like there's so much we can do with it. Like, what's the extent
Mm,
we're gonna like things we're gonna like go through as the series progresses? But what's the extent of his powers? And how it actually comes into play with getting a superhero's organs. Do you get all their powers at once? Does it something that eventually, like, your body gets used to and they develop over time? And just the you know I don't want to say survivor's guilt, but this hero died so he could live. And
mm.
like I said, the real life Hurley said he felt like he was given the second chance at life. The hero Hurley in the comic, he feels like he owes the world a debt, that he needs to do something with these powers that he gained. So there's
That's
so
so
much
cool.
to mind from this idea, I think.
Yeah, you sure found a winner there. And so everybody has lots of different ideas, things that sound really, really good, but they never take action on it. And they never, well, do what you did, which is to go all the way through with it and turn it into an actual comic book. So, what's different about you, Mark? Because you've had loads and loads of really cool ideas that you've followed through on and turned into a comic book. And making a comic book, for anyone who has ever done it, is certainly no easy feat. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of commitment. And somehow you have to maintain the same passion that you had in the beginning all the way through the process of creation and then getting it out there to people. So, how is it that you're able to do that with so many of these cool ideas that you've been able to execute on? What
I
makes the
mean,
difference between you and somebody who just has a cool idea, doesn't really do anything with it, and then you who has a cool idea and actually makes it into something?
I think I just have a drive. I'm driven to see things through. I love creating something from the ground up and getting that final product, that physical book in my hand. I mean, that's the payoff at the end for me. That's honestly, that's how I rate success, like actually completing tasks. And I don't know. And once that next or once that book that I'm working on is done, I'm like, I've already started working on the next one. Like my next campaign launches in March. I'm starting to build the page for that to launch that project. So
That's cool.
I, I don't I don't know. I just this isn't it's a job, but it's also like what I find fun. Like making books is the best. I don't know. I just love it, and I feel so fortunate that I'm able to do this and make an income from it. It's mind
Mm.
blowing to like if teenage Mark, who idolized Rob Liefeld and wanted to one day, you know, hopefully make comics. To think that he had his own publishing company where he, you know, successfully launched 15 projects. He's working with his best friends. He's making books with his son. I don't know. That seems like I hit the jackpot.
Absolutely. Do you think part of it as well is that fear that it could all go away very soon at some
Yeah,
point?
yeah, absolutely. I want to get. I have so many ideas that I want to get out there, and I'm afraid that if I just take, you know, there's definitely care put into these projects, but I don't want to take, you know, time
Mm.
like take my sweet time with it. I want to get these out there and get on to the next one, because like I said, you never know when it's going to end. I also have the luxury of being a writer, where I can finish my work quicker than the artist. So luckily I have plenty of amazing artists I work with that help me achieve these goals.
For sure. And so how long are these books in production before they actually go out? Because you said you were already starting on the next campaign after this
Yeah.
one, putting the
So
page together. So how long has Hurley's Heroes, for example, been in production?
Hurley's Heroes started production, I want to say, early summer of last year. So it was a quicker turnaround than most. One of the greatest lessons I learned in comics was when I was working for DC scripting Hawkman. I was also writing Evangeline for Rob Liefeld at Image, and I was busy working on other people's properties. So when Evangeline got canceled, I was like, "Oh, that's okay. I still got Hawkman." But then when I was no longer on Hawkman, I had nothing in the pipeline, and I never wanted to be in that position again. And I, ever since then, I've just constantly been working on different projects and to always have the next one ready. And right now, I couldn't even tell you how many I have in the works, but I would, if
Oh,
I just
wow.
had to, if I had to guess, I would say there's probably like six projects going on. It's probably more than that
Mm.
right now, but
And they're in production right now.
yes, yep, at various stages. There's I have 5 campaigns hopefully prepared for this year, so that I always have something in the works.
Cool. And do you look over all of these books? Are you the one who's saying to the artist, this needs to be fixed, or that needs to be fixed, or that looks cool, or that doesn't look cool? Are you managing all of those projects, or have you got, a sidekick there, an assistant to help you out with all of that stuff?
Everything that I'm publishing through Haunted Pizza, I'm the one who is over project managing.
Mm.
Graveyard Shift, I let John be in charge of that because he
Yeah.
wanted to be in charge, and I was like, okay, that's that's one less responsibility for me. So, but yeah, everything through Haunted Pizza, I look over.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that even the projects of your own that you've got in production, you're not just working on those. You're working on a ton of other projects for other creators as a writer,
Yeah,
which
I,
I've
I
had
was
the honor to be part of too, which is
I
kind of
was
cool.
scripting one of our projects today. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice. Very cool. Very cool. That's
yeah,
exciting.
man. When creative people I like reach out to me and ask if I want to work with them, I feel honored, and I have a hard time saying no when great artists are involved. So yeah, I keep myself busy, not only doing my own stuff, but I've been fortunate enough to be asked to work on some awesome uh, properties of other creators. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's going to be a busy year. I was just like going through like the names of the artists I'm working with this year. It's crazy. There's John Malin, uh, there's
Mm.
Clayton Barton, Eric Ninotowski, Joe
Yeah.
Sontag, Mike McMahon, um, uh, Chris Graves, Greg Paulson. I'm so fortunate to all the killers I work with. Renzo Rodriguez, who's awesome. So yeah, it's going to be a great year.
Yeah, there's some great artists there. It must be so cool to see them bring your stories to life and to give a visual representation that you can look at based upon the words that you write down.
Yeah, no, I sometimes I feel a little guilty that I have all these great artists working with me because I know, like as a aspiring writer, how hard it is to find someone to work with you when you're just starting out,
Hmm.
and now I have like a whole like I don't know arsenal of killers on my
Yeah.
side. It's great.
It's amazing that you're one of the biggest independent comic book creators right there now with out there right now with that many comic books under your belt. And really you're kind of a low key guy. You know,
Yeah,
obviously a lot of people know about you, but it's not like you're out there showing off too much. You're sort of, yeah, you're low key working in the background, building your empire. I feel like nobody's going to see you coming when you take over everything.
yeah. I'm not one of the I don't know. I'm not one of like the loud personalities
Yeah,
of our crowdfunding community.
that
I'm just
takes,
sort of. I always said I'm more of a lead by example guy.
yeah. Well, you're the moral compass, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's what they say. Keeping everybody's morals in the right place.
yeah.
But so you've got all these comic books to keep track of. How are you keeping all of the teams on track? I can imagine that you must be so excited to hold these books in your hands and see them done. I imagine there's some impatience that comes along with that just from the excitement. But is there ever delays? Do you have to, motivate your crew and give them incentives or maybe a boot up the bum to get them going if they need it?
There are delays, and I mean, things happen. Either personal things in people's lives that will
Hmm.
stop them from working on books,
Oh, yeah.
or you know or if comics are their full-time job and they have to take other jobs to to make ends meet. But I don't know, I have a good relationship with all my artists. I don't really have some of the issues that other people have. Plus I have so many books like in the pipeline right now that if someone's delaying, if someone's like falling behind on a project, well, that just gets pushed back, and someone who is working ahead of schedule, that just moves up a release date. So I'm fortunate, like in that aspect too, that I have all these projects that, oh, if someone isn't hitting their deadlines, there's someone else who is like exceeding their
Mm.
deadlines.
That's actually a pretty good strategy. Have multiple books in the pipeline for separate campaigns, and whichever one wins the race, that's the next one that you're going to crowdfund. I never
Yeah.
thought of that. You must have a very large budget to be able to fund all of those books and put them into production, though. I imagine that takes a lot of resources and a lot of money.
Graveyard's just been very good to me, Clayton.
Oh, good,
So,
good.
yeah,
Yes.
so yeah, when Graveyard Shift hit, I everything I made off those first two books, I just reinvested in making more product, new titles, new properties, and yeah, to keep to start building this business. I want to create something big for my son and I.
Hmm. Do you feel like you have a little bit of a knack for picking the right people to work with? Because as you said, There tends to be a lot of problems when it comes to comic book production, just with getting everybody coordinated, some people slacking off, dropping off entirely altogether. Of course, there's those superstars out there that you keep around and that you treat well so that they never leave you. But
Yeah.
at the same time, there is a lot of that they can tend to be based on what other creators have told me, and not so much what I've experienced myself, although I have experienced the situation where things just come up in people's lives that unfortunately pull them away from the project, and life happens. Everybody's human, unfortunately, and well, fortunately they're human, but if they were robots, then they would never have to eat or sleep or go away from a project, and
Yeah.
they could just work on your comic book forever. But this is besides the point. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. No, I think I just have a good relationship with everyone I work with, and I understand, like, there's
Mm,
things that are gonna come up that take priority over our comic books. Um,
yeah.
I don't know. We joke that I'm called the moral compass, but I
Mm.
feel like I sort of live by a moral code. So if there's things that I would never, like, I don't know, pull a power play and say, you need to. I don't care what's going on with your personal life. Draw my book. You know,
Yeah.
you got to be understanding, and
Mm.
you see some creator relationships break up, and they take it very public. I would
Wow, yeah.
never, even if I did have a breakup with a fellow creator, I would never go public with it. That's business needs to be handled behind closed doors.
I absolutely agree with you. Professionalism, Mark, I don't know what's happened to it.
Yeah.
It it feels like it's gone out of the window a little bit.
Yeah, no, no,
People
we
forgot
watch
how
it
to be professional.
yeah, we watch it every day online. No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true,
I
true.
can't believe it, and they gotta realize that they're people who support them are seeing this, and,
Mm,
how could you back anyone in good faith when they can't handle their business professionally?
absolutely agree. And I feel like the way in which you deal throughout the business process, the way you conduct yourself, it remains and holds true in f- for an endless amount of time, regardless of the situation. So the business principles and etiquette that worked really, really well, let's say in the 90s and 2000s, and even before that, still works well now. And I feel like people have forgotten about them or just decided that they don't work anymore. And, maybe they see massive egos and crazy people online, and they think, well, that's how I have to be. I have to be, a
No,
prick, or I've got to treat people harshly in order to be successful as a businessman. But I don't know, that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have you ever read it? Man, I
no.
feel like that really does hold true, and creates really tight, close relationships within the circle of people that you're working with.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people, like you said, this I don't know, almost online persona they take on. They think that's how they need to act in business, and
Mm,
I don't know, they kind of forget about professionalism.
yeah, and I remember hearing this awesome piece of advice. It was just a little soundbite from one of my teachers back in uni, and we were talking about the games industry, which you get a lot of different characters in there too. Don't worry about that, but at the same time, he said something very interesting that always stuck with me, which is never burn your bridges, because you just don't know what could happen in the future with the person who you're dealing with. Maybe they become huge and massively influential, massively successful, and they could have been an amazing resource and help to you in your own endeavors if you had have kept things civil instead of just blowing the bridge up,
Yeah.
right? And that
No, I have a
happens more
I
often
ha
than you'd think.
I have a perfect example of that. When I started
Cool.
my comics career, my very first book, Coney Waves, was published by a small publisher in Canada, Arcana Studio, and I had a great relationship with the owner. Um, I started writing press releases for him soon after he signed my book. A couple years in, he asked me to be the vice president of his company, and at the time, they were Canada's largest comic book publisher. We probably published
Mm,
like 300 graphic novels together while I worked for him. But as my career started to take off, I had less time for him, and uh, we parted ways on a
mm,
good foot,
yeah.
and we always kept friendly. And as my career went one way, his career went another way, and he stopped publishing comic books. He opened up an animation studio and started making animated films.
Hmm.
Now he's producing and directing live action motion pictures, and he sees what
Wow.
I'm doing with crowdfunded comics, and he wanted to get involved. And he's actually helping me develop Hurley's Heroes as a live action motion picture. So, keeping that good relationship with someone over all these years,
Hmm.
like you said, you never know who that person's going to turn out to be. He's now someone who can help me, get to that next level.
It's so amazing. And who knows what connections they'll make or what
Yeah,
resources they'll have at their disposal. It's just so strategically smart to manage yourself with thought and consideration when it comes to business. I feel like in everything you do and everything you say, because so much of it can even come back to bite you. Uh, and yeah, I feel like people have forgotten the advantages of doing that. But you are somebody who, in every sense of the word, I think everybody who has dealt with you, Mark, feels as though you're a really nice guy, really easygoing,
I
reasonable to talk with in most situations, if not all.
yeah. No, maybe I'm too easygoing to a fault, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just the person I am.
Well, sometimes I ask myself, am I being too nice here? Am I coming across as somebody that's easy to take advantage of?
Yeah,
And so I feel like, something else I was listening to the other day, uh, a businessman who I like to tune into once in a while. He's got some great advice, provides a guide for me to follow. But he said it's okay to be kind, but you don't want to be too nice, right? So there is a difference. Being too nice is really acting in a way just to get approval and validation from somebody. And at the end of the day, they're never going to value you for that. But if you're kind, especially if you're somebody who has a massive amount of resources at your disposal and you don't need to be kind, but you just are, I feel like people are going to remember that, and they're going to feel as though they're indebted to you because of it, because you didn't need to be kind to them, but you
yeah,
were. And it makes you a kind person. I feel like that is definitely the best way to be in the posts that you make online, in the emails that you write, in the interactions that you have in this comic book, this little independent comic book industry that we're creating and have been creating for the last, what, 5 years or more.
yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of aspiring creators who reach out to me for advice or whatever, and I'm free with my time to all of them, and you never know who that person is going to end up being. They could leapfrog my career,
Oh, yeah.
and I'd rather have them as an ally than an enemy.
Well, there's such little value in having an enemy.
Yeah,
They kind of tend to just be a distraction at the end of the day. So even if they are kind of an enemy, if you can swallow your pride a bit and still figure out a way to work with them, I think that is it's almost the age old question of do you want to win the war or do you want to win just the battle, right?
Yeah.
Because if you want to actually win the war, then you got to swallow your ego and work strategically because the little battles really don't matter that much at the end of the day. They just, stroke your ego and that's about it, but they don't really push you forward. And I think especially in, our little community, Comicsgate, the landscape is so up and down sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes a person is an ally, then they're an enemy, then they're an ally again, and there's different circles happening. And it's certainly true that at points people have been enemies, then they've tended to like us again, and then it's so wavy. And I think all you can do is just try to be consistently conscious of managing those relationships as best as you can, and not just blowing them up.
Yeah.
There's very few people I think that I could say I've hated so much that I've completely cut them off. Very, very few. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I like it just made me think of John Malin and I were talking about
Mm.
like one time something had to be dealt with, and he was like,
Yeah.
I'll deal with it, Mark. Everyone loves you. Let's just keep it that way." So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for
yes,
sure.
I am lucky that I have John to be that stern
Mhm.
person when we need it for graveyard shift. So, but in all other like aspects, I have a fantastic relationship with everyone I work with, and I don't know, like there's like you said, there's no benefit in having enemies
I
unless
think
you
that
just want to create some drama to hopefully
mhm.
drum up sales. But I'd rather have the work drum up sales.
Yeah, I mean, that is a consideration too. I mean, it is unfortunate that drama tends to sell.
Yeah,
There are definitely YouTube channels that are out there, that have been out there, which a lot of people tune into just because of the drama. Even if they hate tuning into it, they'll still
yeah.
watch it because there's lots of drama involved with it. But in the end,
But
what stands the test of time?
yeah, what's the shelf life on drama?
Mm,
I'd rather have like the work speak for itself, and
big time.
y- you know, you know, just build something that people resonates with people.
Yeah, evergreen content is the
There you
best
go.
kind of content rather than things that are just in the moment that are going to pass quickly. And it's interesting because you have to ask yourself the question as well: does drama really sell your book specifically? Because people, if they're going to buy your book, they're going to buy it sometimes just purely because they like you as a person, but a lot of the time it's about the product. And if you're not drumming that up and you're not focused on the product and talking about the insider scoop on that, which is what we're trying to give you guys here on Hurley Zeros, and talking about how it was made. I always used to love at the end of a VHS video when, say it was Terminator 2, you'd see the making of it. And they'd have interviews with the actors and talk about interviews with the special effects team, talking about how they made all the prosthetics and stuff. And that just made the movie so much more cooler to engage with. And I feel like if we can do something similar with our comics, that has got to be the best type of marketing, to actually see it in process, the creation, the making of these amazing books. That's what hooks people in. It makes them feel like they're a part of the process, part of the journey. In the end, it's up to creators, I guess, as to how they go about marketing their stuff. But there's definitely two approaches to it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
So let's get Hurley's Heroes back up here again, and talk about the story a little bit more, and also where you want to take it into the future. How many issues have you got planned for Hurley's Heroes? And ultimately, where is the story going to go for our hero? What's going to happen in issue 1? Are we just introducing the character?
We're introduced to the character and we get his origin story. Future issues, I want to deal with that survivor's guilt and feeling like he owes the world a debt, and when is it
Mm,
ever enough, stuff like that. um I just feel like there's a lot of great emotional storytelling we can do with the character. But for the first one, I want to really like grab readers with an action packed story, give them Hurley's origin, and how a hero sacrificed his life so Hurley could get a second chance at life.
yeah. What I love about your comic books, Mark, is they always have great visuals and beautiful colors inside them, which is so important when it comes to a visual medium.
So yeah, so like I said, I work with great artists, but I also work with a great colorist, Anthony George, colorist of Graveyard Shift. Whenever I can work with him, I do so. He's fantastic, and he plays to the strengths of the artists he works with. He colored my last campaign, Loose Threads, and the colors that he did for that book entirely different than the colors for Hurley's Heroes. So I don't know. He's a chameleon almost, like the way he can, I don't know, just work with an artist's strengths and come up with the perfect color palette for him.
And did the two of you discuss what sort of coloring style you'd go with for the particular line artist that was on the book?
No, I don't know, he just knows what I like.
He just
And
knows what you like, huh?
yeah, he delivers.
I will tell you, Mark,
Yeah.
that I've worked with people who just like the stuff I do. And
Mhm.
I'm sitting there in the meantime freaking out about it. I'm like, oh
Right.
man, this is just not good enough. They're going to hate it. They're going to yell at me for doing a bad job. And they're going to have a bunch of corrections to tell me that I've got to attend to. But you know what is the best is when somebody just somehow, by some stroke of luck, you've made all the right decisions along the way, and they just like what it is you've done. And there's no other feeling. So I'm sure your colorist feels that way.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, I want the people that work for me to be happy, because I want to keep them on board if especially if I'm pleased with their work. But yeah, everything Anthony turns in, that is fantastic. This piece we're scrolling by right now, this is
Mm,
actually so. One of the things with Hurley's Heroes is there's a 12-page preview to the Universals Initiative, and the
yeah,
Universals Initiative was a project John Malin and I were hired to do about
really?
12 years ago. Work for hire for a studio in Mexico. When Graveyard Shift was in its infancy, we got this work for hire job. The owners of the studio just happened to be huge Rob Liefeld fans, so they hired John and they hired me, who we were both working for Rob at the time, and they tasked us with creating this whole new universe of characters. And Anthony George wasn't the colorist of the project, but 12 years ago he reached out to John and asked if he could have some work to just practice his colors on. And this was a piece, and when I acquired the rights to finally publish this book, John mentioned that Anthony had colored some pieces. So I reached out to him and said, "Is there any chance you still have some of these, pinups and covers that you colored?" And he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a blast from the past, but I do have the files." And I was like,
That's
"Well,
cool.
if you want to be part of this project, you can be the colorist, because I acquired the rights." Um, and I want to go forward, and I'd love to have you aboard. So yeah, Anthony, a young Anthony George 12 years ago was practicing his colors on this, and then just so happened he ended up being the colorist of Graveyard Shift and working with me on several of my projects.
Yeah, these are some great looking colors. Very nice, considering they were just practice.
Yeah.
But let me get this straight. You were employed, work for hire, you and John, to
Hmm.
create this book.
Yeah.
How, like, and now you've acquired the rights to it. How did that happen? And why did you decide to do that?
So it's a crazy story. So 12 years ago, we were hired to do this story. At the time, it was called The Universals, and this publisher had big plans for it. And one of the owners of the studio owned a chain of restaurants in Mexico, superhero themed restaurant chain. And
Hmm.
they actually made like life-size statues of some of these characters that are in their restaurants. I have pictures of them.
Oh
I keep
wow,
saying I'm going to have to share it, but yeah, the
I'd love to
characters are
see it.
on the characters are on the menus. They have life-size statues. I was like, wow, this thing's going to be huge. There's a lot like money behind this. And then for whatever reason, the books were John and I did two stories. We did 40 pages of work.
Oh
They were
wow.
never published. And I always like, you know, like you say, don't burn any bridges. I always kept in contact with these guys to see like what the plans were, and the same thing on their end. They kept tabs on what John and I were doing, and they saw what we were doing with the graveyard shift. And eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going to just ask them if I can publish it. If they're too busy, because their life took them in different directions. When COVID happened, the one owner who owned the chain of restaurants, he was fighting to survive to save his restaurant chain, and the other
Mm.
owner happens to be an architect. So he was busy building hospitals for all these you know COVID patients that were popping up
Wow.
across the country. So I reached out to them and said, "Hey, if you guys don't have any plans to publish this in the near future, I would be interested." And they jumped at the offer. They thought it was fantastic. We made a deal um, that I'll publish it and acquire, the rights to it. And yeah, we're working together. Everything's going great, and I'm so happy that after 12 years, this work that John and I uh, produced, that I'm really proud of, is going to see the light of day. So it's going
Yeah.
to be a 12 page preview in Hurley's Heroes, just to give people a glimpse of what it's going to be, and then later this year we're going to launch the full 40 plus page book.
Wow. So this thing is written by you and illustrated by John Malin.
Yes.
That's so cool. We haven't seen a book illustrated by John Malin for a while.
Yeah, yeah. It might come out before God likes. So I don't know. Maybe I'll beat John to the to the press with his own book.
Maybe. So is this book done? Is it colored or is there still work to be done on it?
So I'm actually going to recolor it because I wasn't happy with the original colors. So
Gotcha.
um, and there's also like additional work that needs to be done. So I'm bringing my friend Chris Graves in to work on it. And Chris
Chris
and I,
Graves is
we have
amazing.
a yeah, Chris is awesome. Um, just it's crazy. I don't know if you believe in fate, Clayton,
Mhm.
but Chris Graves came into my life, and
Yeah.
and it's so weird. The we talk about it often. We're like we're workout buddies. That's how we met. And then
Really?
and he just so happens to be like an amazing artist, and he did graveyard shift fan art, and I didn't realize at the time it was him who submitted the artwork, and I was like, huh. It's crazy how things work. And now we're
Hmm.
working on this incredible book called Writhe in Pain that's going to come out later this year. He's helping me with Universal's initiative. We work out every Sunday. We talk comics. So
Damn.
yeah,
That's cool. Yeah. Talk about small world
yeah,
because I think Chris Graves has been a part of the How to Draw Comics Facebook community for a long time. And I've seen his work on multiple occasions. I come across it all the time. I'm a fan of it. He's an
yeah.
amazing artist. So it's just the fact that he knows you as well. It's incredible how everybody is connected to the point where he's your workout buddy on top of everything else.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that we lived so close for so long, and I don't know,
Yeah.
we didn't meet through comics, we met through working out.
Yeah. Well, from what I've seen of Chris Graves, he's definitely looks like a workout buddy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but this is so great. I'm almost even more excited to see book come out here because I'm a big fan of John Mayland's art. And I'm looking at this, and there's almost like a Michael Turner flavor to his faces, which
Yeah.
I don't think I've noticed before.
Yeah, no, this is a
Mm.
young John Mayland. It's a piece of comic history. You can see, I joke and say, because people like to say John Mayland is the modern day Jack Kirby, and I said, oh, imagine discovering 40 unpublished pages of Jack Kirby. I don't have to, because I don't have to imagine. I discovered 40 unpublished pages of John Mayland. So to see early Mayland before he became the
Yeah.
artist of Graveyard Shift that everyone knows and loves, and now godlike, and he's at the top of his game. You can see him at the early stages of his game. This is before Marvel Comics. This is before you know
Wow. This was
you know
before that?
yeah.
What? So he was just dang talented for a long time.
Yeah.
So, Mark, I know that you probably can't give away any details, but what goes into, I mean, what can you give me a ballpark on how much it costs to acquire the rights of a property? I'm guessing, you know, it didn't cost as much as it would be to acquire, say, the rights to publish Dragon Ball Z stuff or Power Rangers or
Right.
something like that. And that it was a unique setup between the two of you, but I gotta imagine it's not it can't be a small price to acquire the rights to a full property.
uh so I don't want to burst your bubble, but I think it's just having those good relationships with people
Yeah,
that we came up upon, like an agreement that works for both of us.
for
At the
everybody.
at the end of the day, the owners of the studio, they want to see this published as much as I do, so
Mm,
they were willing to work with me to make this happen. And
that's so cool.
yeah, I'm very thankful for that. So yeah, it wasn't as expensive as you might think.
Yeah, yeah, I gotcha. You know, it's really interesting, Mark, because I feel like you've had a taste of business. You're a businessman. You could say you're a businessman, and I've certainly had a taste of it myself. But I never really knew how to be a businessman. Like I feel like I was always ill-equipped. And what I've come to realize is that you're just dealing with normal people, just
Yeah.
regular people that you can have conversations with, and that you can sometimes they prefer it when you take the initiative and lay out what the deal is going to be. And sometimes it's vice versa. Sometimes they like to take the reins on that. But it's been a really amazing experience as I've become more comfortable dealing with that kind of thing. Also, figuring out when things go wrong, how to find solutions to make sure that they get back on track. Have you found the same thing to be true for yourself in your own endeavors, Mark?
So I've been told by a friend that I'm not a good businessman because I'm not cutthroat, but I found that I don't know. Like I get more out of being, you know, friendlier to to people, and
Mm,
uh, I don't know. And I think it's good because you just end up working with like-minded people like yourself. So
for
uh,
sure.
I don't know. I want to change the way I do business. It's been working for me so far.
Yeah, that's great. Were you ever unsure about how to be a businessman, though?
Oh,
Or did you
absolutely.
just have
Yeah.
a knack for it?
No, no. Early on, like very nervous. I didn't know what to do, but
Yeah.
you got to take that chance and you got to reach out. Like I don't know. Most of my comic book career was made because I took a chance and reached out to someone, and I don't know if it was like I don't know if it was business wise the smartest thing to do, but I took a chance and
Mm,
to see what would happen if I did that. And sometimes you won't find out unless you shoot your shot. So it's
exactly.
yeah, it's led to a lot of great things.
That's totally it. And I think in some ways, this is one of the reasons why you and John Malin are such a great team, because you really are the nice guy, and he is kind of the more firm aspect of
Oh
your
no,
partnership, you know.
absolutely.
And
I get so many messages when John. We love John for his rants, but I get so many
of
messages
course,
afterwards. Was that meant for me, Mark? I was like, no, you're good. You're good.
all right. So people message you just to double check that he's
Yeah,
not talking about them. Yeah, because
he's
he
I'm good cop, he's bad cop. Yeah,
well, but you know, in a way, what he's doing, at least for me, like I think it could possibly rub other people up the wrong way, but for me, I almost want to hire John Malin as my manager, because I tell you what, I'm not very good at meeting my own deadlines, but when it
yeah,
comes to John, I really put the
right.
work in and really strive to meet those deadlines. Most of the time, I do. I believe I've met all of them so far,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's amazing, because if he wasn't the way that he is, though, if he was maybe a little bit more relaxed about it and chilled out, I don't know if I would be as on top of my game.
yeah,
You know, it's really quite interesting to think about. So I think, you know, there's going to be different types of people that you hire who are going to respond to certain ways of you being, whether you're someone who's firm or someone who's a little bit cool, calm, and collected and more loose. And I think that you've really got to, you know, sometimes figure out what is going to mesh well with them. What do you have to be in order to get them motivated, get them productive, but also actually enjoy the process of working for you. Because if they don't enjoy working for you, they're probably not going to do their best stuff, and they're
yeah,
probably not going to stick around either.
yeah. And also look, like John has godlike and graveyard shift, so those two have to be running on schedule because that's what he
Mm,
has. You know,
yeah.
if
Oh
U.S.
yeah.
Assassin falls off the rails, well, I have Viking Wolf, you know,
Mm,
on the back burner, or I have
so cool.
Blackout 2, stuff like that. So I have a little more, I don't know, back. I have more backups in case
Yeah,
something goes wrong. John has a schedule that he needs to keep those two properties, running smoothly.
for sure. Yeah. Well, it's been an awesome conversation, Mark. I say we wrap this up. I'm going to check out the trailer here. It's always so fun talking to you about this stuff. I feel like I just want to pick your brain about everything, because you're those creators who have just been so successful at doing crowdfunding. Like, I feel like, how long has this been open for? Only a few days. You've
Yeah.
already got 45 backers on board. No doubt, with a book that looks this good, others are going to join in and grab themselves a copy. Highly encourage you to. I'm definitely going to. And I feel like, even though your campaigns may not be as big as the colossus that are out there, like Ethan Van Sciver, for example, at the same time, I feel like you just with all the campaigns that you have put out, you must be building up and making up for the fact that, even if your campaign aren't gigantic, all those little ones
Oh yeah.
certainly
No.
add up.
Yeah. Definitely. Absolutely. My 4 or 5 campaigns. Equal. May equal like some of the bigger campaigns. So yeah.
That's
No.
amazing. That's just incredible. Yeah. And I mean, I really like your strategy. I feel like you've got a great strategy going on. You've got a ton of books that you put out, and you're certainly making some profit there. And if you contrast that with some of the bigger, slower campaigns, well, like Kozor, for example, which was like 2 years in the making, it's it just makes so much sense to be doing what you're doing instead. Because, yeah, I feel like you just lose money otherwise all over the place. when creators take so long putting out a book. So I'm gonna have to pick your brain about how to best navigate that.
Oh, anytime, man. I enjoy talking with you as well, and
Yeah,
we'll be working a lot together
we will
in the
be. I'm
future.
excited
Yeah,
for that. Yeah, I hope I can do your stories justice. I'm pretty sure it's no secret anymore that you and I are working on Eric Ninotowski's upcoming project,
yeah,
Hopscotch Origins. Are you happy
yes.
with the work that I've done for your story on that? Have you
Oh,
seen any of it?
oh yeah, yeah. No, I've been looking at the pages as I script the dialogue this the last couple weeks, and
Yeah,
it's fantastic. This book is going to look amazing. I'm so excited for
great.
people to see it.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. All right, and you've got a trailer here, so let's check that out. Hopefully, I've shared the sound. That's what I'm hoping. I'm just going to share it again to make doubly sure. Here we go. Turn that on. Beautiful. Can you hear that right?
Yeah.
I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. They call me a god. 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 I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. Wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me. Put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready.
That was a really cool trailer.
Thank you. Shout out to 6 a.m.
Web pages. Yeah,
Oh
they
wow.
just it's pretty incredible, and they've also got a whole font library, Google Fonts. You can just download fonts from them. How
Oh
amazing
wow.
is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, to the wonderful chat, I was on a completely different panel here because I know this is live. I was on the graphics panel for some reason, and so I completely forgot about the chat. But I'm seeing you all there now, so I just want to say a big apology for completely ignoring you. I knew we were live, but I wasn't thinking about the chat. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You know, I see you there, crazy mad. I missed out on all these fun comments. Damn it. Um, thanks so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate you guys, and I promise to make sure I haven't streamed in a while. You might have noticed, so I'm a little bit out of practice, but I'm going to get back into it. So yeah, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. I love talking to you. You're very easy to just talk with. And I hope we can do it again real soon. Good luck with your new comic book campaign, Hurley's Heroes.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for having me. Anytime you want to talk, man, just let me know.
Will do. All right. And to the chat, we will see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay well, have fun, and enjoy life. And I'll see you in the next stream. Bye bye for now.